about tax trends. And I'm so happy and excited to see all of you here. You can share the link to your friends, tell them that we are on. Thank you so much. And you can also tell me where you're watching the webinar from. If this is your first time, you can also say a yes. If it's your first time, you can say a yes. And my co-host, you can put the link. The training, this webinar is free of charge. You can be able to, good, I can see some good mornings. So, karibuni sana, 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 sana. Sana, sana. Is it your first time? If it is your first time, you can, I welcome you so much. And I ask you, I request you to follow us on our social media handles, RWK Africa. You can always see our webinars and you can be able to join us and learn as much as you can. So karibuni sana, sana, sana. It's a cold Friday in Nairobi. I don't know how your location is, but I'm excited that you are here. So as we start, I want to pose a question. What is the latest in the tax trends? What have you seen out there? Ni nini umeona? We were doing our filings in by June 2026. I don't know how many of us were able to file. Well, last month I really taught you about filings. And how to do the validation process, how to get the items data, how to pull that data in the return. We really learned a lot. And now I'm hoping that we were able to do our filings and even how to do the attachment, the information that the return required, what was there. Then we also did a lot of attachment. Were you able to scan your document and attach? It was quite tough. I'm just hoping next year we'll have something better than that, because we had a lot of process in filing. And some of our clients were not ready for that change. So someone is saying, watching from Orokarao. Okay, sawa. So nimeona first timers, karibuni sana, 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 sana. And I want to request that you can be able to join our social media handles, love us, like us, and you can always be able to see when we release this. We do these trainings, 3 of them. We do tax trends, which we are doing here. We are doing another one on a topic I'm going to share, and a sector-based. So we do 3 of them. These webinars are free of charge. You learn, and then you can be able to make better decisions when it comes to tax, when it comes to your business. Wycliffe is saying, good morning. We are here now for 1.5 years. You have kept me on top of the game. Thank you. By the way, I see a lot of freelancers and tax agents and accountants being able to join us. So I'm so happy that whatever content we give you, you can be able to take that content to your client and be able to advise them better. So I'm so happy to even see freelancers and to see you being able to learn, so that you can be able to give your customer and your client better decision. By the way, businesses are created every single day. If you go to eCitizen, we should do a statistics of how many businesses are created every day. So there's a market for everybody. We have, this country is driven by business, informal sectors, SMEs, 80% is what is driving our economy. And all those things, all those businesses require accounting, they require tax, they require systems, they require all of that. So there's always a market for consultancy, especially in the financial sector. So karibuni sana. I had asked a question, were you able to file? And also, because I'm just seeing us saying good morning and everything, also, I wanted to ask, what is the latest that you have seen? And then we can be able to proceed. So I need a few answers, and then we can proceed. I don't know if the system was able to fail you the last minutes, especially the uploading of data. It was really dragging. And especially because clients were not ready to provide those scanned documents and all of that. KRA has stated that they are going to move from Excel to web-based. I'm going to mention what that entails so that we can be able to file much better. I'm just hoping that we're going to have some better spaces as we proceed. So I'm so happy that you're able to join. Could I proceed to the training? Then I can come back to the chats so that I also don't keep you for long. Also, another thing I wanted to say, which I'm also going to say at the end of it all, on Wednesday, 2 weeks ago, I was recognized for 40 under 40. And on Wednesday, we got that award for 40 under 40. And I'm very sure when Business Daily reached to us and when I was nominated, one of the biggest areas for that nomination was these tax trainings that we do. And being able to have that portion that where we can be able to train and enlighten people about taxation and help them make better decisions in their business. So if ever you ever did that nomination, for you coming here to learn, I say a big thank you, because it was exciting to be on the list. Someone is saying there is an echo. I guess I'm shouting too much. Let me calm down so that the echo is able to reduce. Let me proceed. I'll come back to the questions. Let me just share something. Filing has been made easy even during hard times. Asante sana. I don't have sound. Kindly check on your side. Okay. Let me proceed kidogo. Nitarudi tu hapo, and you can ask questions as you can. Let me just talk about a few things, and then I'll come back to the questions and to your comments. So I'll talk about recent KRA public notices. KRA, I don't know if you follow KRA. I hope you follow them on your social media. Ama sisi ni wale, we don't want to follow them. They will come back and no. You can follow and be able to see the information they provide. So I'm going to mention a few public notices that have been released in the last like a month. Then I'll talk about recent tax policies, emerging tax issues, and the Finance Act. Remember last month, the finance bill was went through the publication, went through the readings, until it was enacted into law. And I'm going to mention a few areas that you should know that, that can affect your business. So the transition, number one, the transition to a web-based tax filing system. So KRA has stated that come the year 2027, hawajapumzika. And this is something that we've seen with KRA being so innovative. In the recent times, we have e-teams. When it comes to be, we complained that it's not working. They made it better. They gave us like 10 versions of it. Kuna USSD, kuna e-citizen, kuna client. every time when they listen to the issues that you are struggling on, they come back and do something. So this is a transition that we have seen. We have seen even iTax become extremely efficient, very user-friendly. The auto-population of data becoming more efficient. When auto-population came to be, it's also had a lot of issues. But now we can be able to see even auto-population becoming very, very efficient. So they have stated that they are going to transition. The return will be prepared and submitted online. Remember, we download first a document, then we fill that document through Excel. Then we we validate that document back. So they want us, when you open, you can be able to fill in the document, the details, and that will be it. So the validation will occur automatically within the system. And I think that will be able to, if you even seen what we did during June, the document that you are filling, you fill the document very well. It will be very good. But the moment you come to upload it, that is where the issues were, the uploading of that Excel template. So they are stating that the new platform will be able to do those records automatically. So that will be the year 2027. And of course, stay here. When it will be here, I'm going to train you on how to do it the same way I trained you on how to file the year 2025 return. So the transition to web-based tax filing system why is KRA introducing this change? To make tax filing more user-friendly, eliminate common Excel-related technical issues, especially the validation process, reduce the time to prepare and submit returns, and I'm hoping they are going to do this across all returns, the monthly, the end of year zote, so that this transition will be very easy. Easy the pressure to iTax filing during peak periods. Year 20th, year 30th, that is when the system has issues. Reduce the uploading failures and processing delay, enhance overall system reliability, support KRA digital transition agenda. Kwanza hiyo transition and digital, they have been extremely efficient. And some of us also say that when you come to file, for instance, for VAT on 20th, and the system has issues, and you're unable to file, and you're penalized, that you are not supposed to be penalized. It was a system that failed. But remember, you're given a full 20 days, that if you filed on first, system ingefanya, second ingefanya, third ingefanya, but you chose to do it on 20th. So sometimes the issues also is delays on our side. So the key features on the new filing platform, the proposed system is expected to include a fully online filing process, real-time validation of information entered, automatic error detection. Remember, when you're doing the VAT, pale mwisho inakuandikianga the errors that you have created, so that you can go back and look at the errors. And also this, remember also, like VAT already, we are at the auto-population process, where you're just auto-populating the information. Eliminate Excel uploads, faster processing of tax return, a more seamless taxpayers experience, better integration with KRA digital platform. So be here when the system will be here. We are going to take you through the full entire process of how to file. So that was a public notice, and you're going to follow up on it. We also had a public notice on 6th July, removal of excess duty on bottled water. I don't know how many of us do bottled water. Ilikuwa inafaa makofi, because if there's something that had collapsed businesses, is excess duty. And if you go to my TikTok, there's one time I really explained what it means to have excise duty on bottled water, and the complexity and so many taxes that are aligned to excise duty. Remember, excise duty has excise stamps. So most of the companies, this what would happen. For you to get that stamp, you went to KRA, they gave you, there was like an audit that was going on. So if they are giving you like 5,000 stamps, you go through an audit where they tell you, we gave you 5,000 stamps in the last 3 months. So how did you use these stamps? And remember, these are digitalized. So they'll go through the system and see how many stamps you've been able to use. So for instance, you've used like 4,000, and then they ask you, where is the 1,000? You say the 1,000 is on stock and so many other things. And then they also push this excise to VAT. So zilikuwa zinashikana hivi. So you'd find a very small company that is not even doing a lot of water. They are paying 200,000 on excise duty and 200,000 on VAT. It was extremely expensive, and also making the water very, very expensive. How did they, water companies, were able to lobby on this? First of all, they really lobbied. And this is where sector organizations comes in to lobby on taxes. And I've really, yesterday I had a training with Motumba business people, and I was asking them, because one of the areas they really had issues on was VAT. Motumba is vatable. So you can imagine the combat that you're supposed to use items and use VAT. And they're coming together to lobby. This is what it can be able to do. First of all, the very first thing, they had to say that water is essential. It's no longer excise duty is like a sin tax. It's like, because it also affects something like beer, those alcoholic beverages, like you taking an alcoholic beverage is like a privilege, or you're not supposed to tax. Uko na pesa mingi sana to lipa tax kidogo, ongeza. But water is very essential, even if possibly the connotation was it is bottled water, possibly use the tap water or something else. But bottled water is what we are taking on a daily basis, even in our homes. The waters that we take through the dispenser, and that is the water that we take. So pushing water not to become it's something essential, so that we remove the excise duty. And this is a very welcome move. But on the note, on this public notice, it is stated that the commissioner will issue guideline on the return of unutilized stamps. This is what I would want you to know. And the decommissioning of digital stamps. Remember, if you had these excise duty stamps, you still have them. For instance, you are given in the month of May, you have the 5,000. The return, because most likely you're supposed to return them physically. And for those ones that are in stock, what will happen for them? Ni inabidi utoe. And decommissioning also, because there's the way you activate them when you put them on the bottle. So the whole entire process, the commissioner said they are going to give details and guidelines. And of course, I know some of these stamps, there are some stamps that get destroyed and so many other things. So the whole entire process. But this is a welcome move for the water bottles. But also because we have clients who are doing water, I told them now you can be able to do business at ease. They told me now from this day, from July, na leo ni July 17th, kuna kampuni zote zile zilikuwa zimefunga za maji zimeamka. Now water that was retailing at 30 shillings per bottle is now retailing at 20 shillings. So, so you solve one thing and you think now business will become better. Something now happens, and now water goes. Of course, if you're not going to use that stamp, you'll find that that stamp was coming to about 6 shillings per liter or per half liter. So that money is not there anymore. Si unarudisha maji chini, but now, because now there are other players, now you thought that water will come down by 6 shillings, it comes down by 10 shillings or 15 shillings. Remember also water, because of surveillance, excise duty is really one of the big areas for excise duty is surveillance. Is where KRA goes to supermarket, goes to wholesalers to see if we are using this term. So KRA was going through the supermarket, scan ile stamp, scan, they scan the water, they also scan other beverages, pombe na hizo zingine, to just make sure that they are using the stamps and the stamps are legal. Also, excise duty has a lot of illegal stamps. Illegal stamps is a market, is a big market in this country. So they do a lot of surveillance of that stamp. So water had become a black market. There were people who were selling water in the black market. Yani inakuwa biashara ingine ilikuwa chafu. So right now the water has come down with pricing. So the water companies are now facing another challenge that was not there. So I think these are market dynamics, and this is something now you also have to consider. Remember, water is still vatable. So even if excise duty is not there, water is still vatable. It has VAT that is supposed to be paid on a monthly basis. So have a removal of excise duty. I've explained what will be happening. So we can go to the other public notice. So public notice on 17th of July, KRA stated that the Advanced Cargo Declaration ACD platform for containerized cargo. So there were a lot of issues, especially for importers, exporters, shipping goods to Kenya and outside Kenya, where there was a lot of delays of the system. So you can be able to do advance, you can be able to key in your details very in advance to just ease the process of the entry and exit of shipment. So exporters shipping goods or to I think it was from out Kenya, and now can be able to be given a reference code, and at the point of loading the cargo destined for Kenya, you can be able to generate this draft bill of landing, commercial invoice, flight invoice, and export declaration. And when you're also doing this, there is the way the system, IGMS system, has been able to also integrated with iTax. We saw when we were doing our returns that you can be, then now you're able to get your imports. When you import that information, you're going to get it on iTax the same month. When you export, you can also be able to get that information. Previously, when we were going through the audits, KRA would come and give us custom data. And remember, this custom data, they hold this custom data. We cannot be able to view as a tax agent the custom data. Or even the taxpayer was not able to view the information. So when they are doing audits for companies doing both export or imports, one of the biggest areas for audits was custom information. So KRA would come and say, they are going to audit you, and they look at your return and say, you declare that you exported like 100 million this year. They will say like 3-4 years. But the custom data reads, in this particular year, you exported 150 million. And it was always a big issue. But now because you did not know what was written there in custom data. The other portion was when you use these clearing and forwarders, there's a way they would, and I'm hoping I'm having importers here on the chat. You can comment on the chat. Both imports and export, the clearers and forwarders would go to the system and do a draft for them to be able to get the taxes and everything. And that information would remain there. Then they come back when that item lands or is exiting, they do another entry. So when we get custom data, we get a lot of duplication. So that 100 million that you actually exported, you find the system is giving us 150, 170. And by the time you solve that issue with KRA, showing them the export documents and those import becomes a very big hassle. The other big hassle is on the credit notes, especially for people who export. There's a lot of credit notes. When the cargo gets to the other side, it has a lot of also details that is going through. The person who is buying, they also counter check, and there are so many other issues. So those cargos would get credit note. But remember, the system does not issue those credit notes. So that was also a big issue. The other biggest issue is when you doing your ITIMs, you raise, remember all this, especially for exporters, you also need to raise an invoice for zero-rated invoice for you, especially to be able to even get your refunds. So you find that you've been able to raise your invoices. Then the custom data gives something different. Then you raise a credit note, but the custom data, you don't raise a credit note on the custom data. So there's a lot of, and this is, I believe when we are going this way, it is to align some of these issues and to make sure that the whole process becomes easy. Even when KRA is wanting to audit you, the information is available. You can be able to see all your imports. You can be able to see all your exports. You can be able to solve issues. And also even the clearing and forwarders don't hold autonomy of, most of us don't even know what they do on the system. So you can be able to now view some of this information. So this is also a welcome move, especially for businesses that are doing some of this work. Importers, exporters, shipping agents, custom agents, relevant stakeholders. So this is also very, very important. And of course, being able to clear in a very easy manner. So I've done a few implications of the system. For importers, the benefits is faster custom processing, greater predictability in the cargo clearance. So you can be able to even know your taxes and everything. Improving supply chain planning. So that is it. Let's go to the other portion. Government extends fuel relief. So we remember that the Energy and Petroleum Regulatory Authority has reduced the VAT on fuel from 16% to 8%. Further, they have done this further for 3 months until 14th October. So by 14th October, they are going to mention if they can still extend this. This was to cushion businesses from high global oil prices. Remember, we had an outcry for fuel. And even fuel, even right now, it's still high. But that 8% is also helping somewhere. So we have the price unchanged until the VAT element at 8% until 14th October. Also, the retained fuel prices unchanged for the period of 13th to 14th August. Ini mwezi moja tu. Of course, they keep saying the war is coming, the war is coming, the war is ending. So also 1 month that the prices don't change until they can be able to reevaluate. Our economy is driven by fuel. Diesel, petrol is what we use. So anything that triggers fuel triggers the cost of production, cost of doing things, cost of living. Fuel is very essential. We travel, we move goods, we do our machinery. So it is a very huge conversation on fuel. And also fuel has a lot of taxes, a lot. And the other time when fuel came up, I elaborated part of these taxes. So before I go to the KRA power to reopen expired tax records, let me go to the chat and I see what you're saying. If any of those have been able to affect you, you can be able to mention something. The system ought to work full time, even when I file a minute to the deadline. Okay, 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 okay. Okay, someone is saying system ifanye kazi should not collapse on the final day. A major shift on camp, okay, that is the filing manual indeed, okay, that's good. Major shift on companies' expenditure towards compliance have all reflected on e-teams. Okay. So someone is asking, how can someone be able to understand all these tax issues? For us, we work out these trainings with the team. Isitengenezi peke yangu. The team sits down and looks at all this, and we prepare this work. So this is not a one-man show, is the team that is able to do this. The next point is where you able to train. When you're able to talk about it, you're able to also be able to grasp. What is the total adjustment voucher? So we had adjustment vouchers when we were doing the return, depending. We had, depending if you have a tax refund. Okay, you can continue asking questions on the chat. So John, you can share what the total adjustment, is it on the income tax? Is it on the VAT, so that I can be able to explain further? Because we were doing a lot of adjustment when we were filing for the income tax return. As for instance, if the cost of sales and the purchases were not aligning, we were doing an adjustment. So there were so many accounting adjustments we were doing when we were doing. What of withholding tax? Should it be applied only to those earning above 24,000? Withholding, yes, for professionals. If I come to your organization as a tax consultant and you pay me 24,000 and above, so for instance, you pay 30,000, you're supposed to do the 5%. So that is true for professionals. But if that person is earning a salary, they are employees of the company, Above 24,000, they're supposed to do pay as you earn. So it depends on what you're talking about. You can tell me more. Let me go back to the notes and then you can continue asking the questions. So there's a case, Almasi Botras Limited versus the Commissioner of Domestic Taxes. And there are so many cases are determined at the tax tribunal, at the ADR, and the courts, and they are always published. So yeah, we'll be doing a lot of this to just see, because these cases form precedents. When we are solving cases, you can be able to attach some of this ruling on the paperwork that you're doing, so that, remember, the Tax Procedures Act is there, income tax, VAT is equal, but they might talk about something that is different from what is being determined. So this, what is being determined and what is happening in the courts is very important. You can be able to attach and say, because of this ruling, for instance, there's a ruling that happened last year and it was a big ruling, withholding, and actually because of that ruling, it has even come to the Finance Act, and I'm going to mention about withholding. If KRA was auditing you as a withholding agent and you did not withhold that 2% on your VAT, so you are withholding agent, they will come and look at all your purchases. Wanafanya return, remember uko na VAT. Wanatoa all your purchases. For instance, the purchases for the whole year is like 50 million. They find that out of those 50 million, you withheld for 20 million peke yake. 30 million you did not withhold. And remember, there are also rules on withholding. You are supposed to withhold upon payment, the point where you are paying this person. So you might have a purchase that you have been able to claim on your VAT, but you've not been able to pay for it. So they find that, so let me go back. So the purchases are 30 million. 20 million is what you've been able to withhold. 30 million is not withheld, that 2%. Hata ukue uliwalipa at the end of the day. So KRA will pick that 30 million, wanakufanyia 2%, wanakwambia ulipe hiyo 2% na ulipe na penalties and interest. Remember, this is money you paid the supplier already. That 2% is not yours. You are supposed to withhold from the supplier, but you paid them 100%. So KRA is charging you that, and it is not your tax. It is money you're supposed to withhold from your supplier. And it was attested that this company paid fully money to their supplier. So pesa hayuko nayo, pesa alipea supplier. So don't come and ask me for that 2%. My mistake is not is failing to withhold. So charge me penalties and interest, but not this 2%. And it was attested and the company won. And it found precedence that today, if we are going through KRA audit, KRA should not charge you for that 2%. You talk about the penalties and interest of not doing the work. And it has come to also to the finance bill, and I'm going to mention. So some of these cases you can be able to push and you can be able to win. And when you win, it is published like this and we can be able to use. So this company, Almasi, was being audited, and KRA was going back to, the commissioner conducted an audit on Almasi Botros and sought to assess additional taxes using records dated back more than 5 years. That is 2018 to 2025. Ime judgment was 26 June 2026. And one of the argument was the tax period had already expired. The 5 years tax period had already expired. And by the way, also, this was like also a reopening of records. Also, when you get an assessment, KRA pale chini you andika. If we get additional information, we can reopen the case. So it's not also sometimes that because you've been audited in the final, although there are very rare chances, but these were some of the the issues. So they were testing on the timelines and they won. So the tax assessed 2020 to 2025 was upheld, and the other periods beyond 2020, the commissioner stated that the company should stick to the 5 years. So this was a win for Almasi. So these are some of the areas that are there. Of course, investigation unit, they stated that they have the autonomy of reopening from the date you started, even 10 years. So using such case, even if the investigation can reopen, you can tell them, through this ruling and this one, you're supposed to handle 5 years only. So, of course, some of these cases you win at the tribunal, you win them at the ADR. That is where you can be able to have some of this ruling. Let's talk about the Finance Act. And some of the areas. We had prepared a lot of areas, so I'm going to just mention a few. I'll share these notes with you. My co-hosts, you can share the link here, so that my co-host, you can share the link. You fill your email on the link. We are going to share with you the recording and the notes so that you can be able to go through it. And you can also tell me what affected you on the Finance Act, and what affected your company. So number one, carry forward tax losses. I've just mentioned the ones that affect most of our businesses, and then the rest we can be able to follow through. So investor who invested at least 10 billion before 1st July 2025 can continue to use previously accumulated tax losses until fully utilized. Sijui kwa nini walituandikia at least 10 billion is quite high. But I always find that these big companies, and they really know how to push some of these things. And these big organizations, they really do a lot of tax planning and use a lot of this. So you may find a company that is very huge, and because of some of this ruling, they don't pay even taxes. So, but for your company, you can be able to utilize your losses for 5 years. Beyond that, you always see KRA wanting to come and see what kind of business are you doing, vitu mingi. So sometimes having all those losses and sometimes does not pose very, very well. Not unless you can be able to have your articulation of your records very, very well. So interest deductibility, the law now clearly applies to businesses involved in lending and leasing. So these are microfinances and those. So especially when you had issues of loans that are defaulting, what happens to that interest? So that now becomes a bit clear. Insurance companies, they had the life insurance fund being now updated to statutory fund, this to align the tax law with the Insurance Act. So that to broaden the wording and to be able to elaborate and to be able to enhance tax to the Insurance Act. Of course, some of these areas are areas that we give public participation. So the insurances comes and say, for this portion is giving us confusion. Why don't you push it? This and this and this. So some of these areas are what I talked about, public participation, so that your sector can be able to have a clear way forward when you're doing some of these areas. Anti-avoidance rules. Anti-avoidance provision has been moved from Income Tax Act to Tax Procedures Act. So the Tax Procedures Act gives, elaborates on penalties, interest, procedures. So this, when you avoid taxes and you default taxes, evasion, avoidance. Now, when it is at the Tax Procedures Act, there's an elaboration of penalties, interest, procedures, and becomes more broadened on how, if you do this what should follow through. So KRA still holds the powers to challenge tax avoidance while improving consistency across tax laws. Scrap metal and winnings, these are bets. So scrap metal organization won because they also did public participation and lobbying. This was also one of the biggest sector that had a lot of tax issues. So scrap metal had an issue of VAT, because VAT on scrap metal, they buy these scrap metals without VAT. Then they are supposed to sell it, and nasijui hapa kama tuko na scrap metal dealers. They are supposed to sell this scrap metal to sminters ama manufacturers. These manufacturers have been appointed as withholding agents. So they do 2% of VAT. So when they do withholding, you did not buy with VAT, but when you're selling with VAT. So the purchases did not have VAT. And most of these scrap metals were the industries that was thriving with this we call missing trader, buying of illegal invoices, and having a lot of tax issues, especially when it came to VAT. And they lobbied, and now they have the withholding on their sales that is at 1.5% of sales, and they have been able to remove the VAT. So this is a win for them, especially now to remove all those missing trader and VAT issues. So this is the power of coming together and being able to lobby and give an alternative. So you kusema tutoleeni. Give an alternative and say, if you do ABCD, this will favor us more, and we can be able to mobilize our people to be able to pay that withholding tax, because this VAT is challenging us. Also for betting, when you win that betting, when you win, 20% withholding will be done. And I believe the company, when they do the 20%, they will be able to remit to KRA. Na 20% sio pesa kidogo. So if you're supposed to win 1,200, goes to KRA, and we also share the winning with you. Annual tax return deadline. Remember, we had a lot of conversation on this. KRA stating that they need to have this return done by 4th month. But now this is what is there. Individual will file within the 4 months. They had even stated that nil filers, they file within a month. So now we hold it individual filing to be done within 4 months after year end. So if your year end is January to December calendar year, you're supposed to do it by 30th April. Individual, whether it's a new return, whether you're doing pay as you earn. And also, if you have a business registered under the individual PIN, so make sure that you're able to do it by the 4th month. And for companies, they still retain at the 6 months period. So at least wamesongesha wengine as we move to possibly next year, they will also now start moving us again. So we have death benefits and real estate investment. So the death benefits and qualifying transfer of property are now exempted from tax. So when you benefit from death, the taxes, they are exempted when you, especially the benefits, the insurances that we do, zile zinaitwa last what? The benefits that you get out of there, they're exempted from tax if you do some of those pensions, insurances around the death and the real estate investments. Investment allowances, large petroleum and gas storage investment may qualify for 100% first-year capital allowances. Some of these investments are extremely expensive, and they will be able to qualify for the capital allowance for the 100%. Capital gain tax. CGT now applies to certain indirect sales in Kenya are set by non-residents, especially for non-residents. So, especially non-residents, CGT mostly happens for if you're a resident in Kenya and you want to sell a property in Kenya. So it is also now, CGT is now recognizing that there are so many non-residents owning properties in Kenya and selling those property. So it is expanding. It is expanding to also non-residents. Foreign employees and national carrier. Certain income earned outside Kenya by non-resident airline employees is now tax exempt. So this is also being a lobby that it makes it easier for Kenya's national carrier to attract international talent. So I believe some of these areas are very industrially connected, very, I don't know, possibly there are issues with the talent of our pilots in that area, so that they can now be able to attract because the now taxes are exempted. Gratuity tax exemption applies to qualified gratuity arrangement for contract lasting at least 3 years. So your contract has to be 3 years and above for you to get exemption of gratuity. So when you stay in a company for some years, kuna gratuity na kuna vile it is calculated. So you have to be at least in that contract lasting more than at least 3 years for you to be able to get the exemption. CBK housing loan relief. So this was also for CBK employees, and this was not adopted. The proposal was to allow additional mortgage interest relief for CBK employees. So, and some of this because they are really industry. Unaona vile nimesema national carrier could be KQ. Now we have CBK. As in, there are people pushing their agendas in the finance acts. Pension benefits paid upon the death of a member are tax exempt. I also talked about that benefits. When we come to, I mentioned the death benefit. Also, I mentioned here pension paid upon the death of a member. And I believe when we are doing these pensions, this pension is supposed to go to your children upon if you're not there. That money is tax exempted. And some of these are also put there to encourage us to do a bit of these insurances to just guarantee that future. Virtual assets. So virtual asset was supposed to be defined. So this is definition now aligns with the Virtual Asset Service Providers Act. And it is supposed to clarify what is digital assets and what are supposed to be subjected to tax. So that was also provided. Exchange of information, nimeruka hiyo ingine, virtual asset service is almost the same thing. Exchange of information, Kenya may exchange virtual asset information is still on the virtual asset. Remember some of these things that we do, the digital assets. This is, and we have seen KRA looking at, especially digital, they have been able to see that some of the businesses that we're doing, they are now going to that spaces because we are always looking for areas where we can be able to do more businesses. So when they find an area that they've not been able to get their taxes, they can be able to put all these provisions in the Act and guidelines, so that when you're going to these spaces, you can be able to understand clearly. Reinstatement after deregistration. So it also stated that deregistered taxpayers can be reinstated using the same PIN. So if you deregistered a PIN and you come again and say, I would want to to continue with this business, you can still, that PIN that was deregistered can be reinstated, the same PIN. And I also believe the obligations also, you can re-register obligation, you can still register the obligations back. Although the registration is a very long process. I know utaniuliza hapo, the registration of a PIN is a very long process. Especially if you write to KRA and say, remember when you want to close down a company, you close down the PIN. The company at Sharia House. So after you go all those through the process, mpaka kuna ile gazettement of that notice, company is no longer operational, hizo vitu zote. Then with those gazette and what you can bring to KRA, because you can deregister a company, but the PIN is still running and the information is still running at KRA because they don't know these two, the e-citizen na KRA hazija. E-citizen saizi can give you a PIN when you register a company, but when you deregister, you have to provide that information that you have deregistered. And when now KRA comes now to register a PIN, they take you through audit. So they have to audit to make sure that you paid all the due taxes. So pia ni process. Na hata kama wata raise taxes na nini, even now to fully deregister, to deactivate that PIN is still another entire process. And they'll tell you that the registration is happening at IT department, ni kazi mrefu. So if you're looking for that process, sometimes I find just finding a new return is easier than some of these processes. And actually auditing you, ni kazi pia. They have to really make sure that they've gotten all the taxes. Anti-tax avoidance rule, KRA has broadened powers to disregard tax avoidance arrangement, but must provide written reasons. So strengthens tax enforcement while improving fairness and transparency. I had talked about avoidance, so tax avoidance and everything, moving from the coming to the Tax Procedures Act and being elaborated further to just make sure that some of these areas are handled. Commissioner's assessment, KRA may issue tax assessment using available information after giving taxpayers an opportunity to respond. So when KRA asks you for data and you don't provide information, you tell them, I'm going to give you, you don't give, ama you disappear. Any information that they are holding, they can be able to raise assessment, issue assessment on that information. Ishika vizuri. Especially default assessment. We saw KRA, by the way, when they were issuing public notice that we are supposed to file by 30th June. They stated there, if you don't file by 30th June, we are going to issue a default assessment. Default assessment means that with the information that we are having, without you providing us information, we are going to do our calculation and we are going to give you an assessment. So how do they get that? How do they do? Ama wanafikiria tu from there. They do third-party information. They can get information from your customer, from your supplier. iTax will provide that information. So if KRA put your PIN on their portal and on their system, they can be able to get a lot of information about you. They will get information from your customer, from your supplier, from withholding. Kila mahali where your PIN is mentioned, they can be able to really get information. And out of that information, they can be able to make a judgment. They can also be able to see your industry. If you're doing imports, out of that information, they go to your industry. They evaluate the information, the profit margins in the industry, how much expenses are there in your industry. So you utaona labda they will be able to estimate your sales. And because they are not able to estimate your purchases and your expenses, wanakuallow 40%, 30%, depending on the industry, and then they issue an assessment. And one day, when you're going to open your iTax portal, you find your assessment there, and then you start on the litigation process where you do objection. You go, now you say, I've come here and I have information, I have documents. The document you are asking now zimepatikana because you've issued me an assessment, and then you start providing information, and then you can go through the objection period. Of course, KRA will always say, oh, we give you time to provide that information. Why did you not come? Why did you not respond? So sometimes such issues will arise that this taxpayer was not willing to give us information, was not willing to and by the way, another big documents they will use for this assessment is your bank statements from the bank. So KRA will write to the central bank requesting for information about your bank statement. And you can imagine if KRA gave you the opportunity to provide the bank statement yourself, and you refused, if they write now to wanaandikia Equity, wapi kila mahali, and they will get all that information. And if they get bank statements which are not sufficient, they look at their portal, they see the directors there and their PIN numbers. Wanaandika tena, give us director bank statement. So it is a very rough period. So sometimes it is very good to just show up and cooperate. Tax amnesty, so the qualifying debt cutoff. So the amnesty is here with us, and we can be able to use the amnesty. Of course, amnesty is supposed to give you a relief of your penalties and interest. And they have added the time. The time now is to that 31st December 2025. So to 31st December 2025, ile ingine ilikuwa to 2024, but to 31st December 20, hata ile filing tulifanya juzi. So if you got a penalty, ama hukuweza kufile on time, system ilikuanguka, that 10,000 ama 20,000, you can be able to get an amnesty on that. So the deadline is to pay the principal is by 31st December 2026. So you can go ahead and do a payment plan. Ukilipa tu, so this is how amnesty operates. If you have arrears of 3 million, unafanya payment plan for that money, unalipa. Ukilipa, unalipa principal system, and I'm hoping we know this. Usiniambie hujui kulipa principal ukiacha penalties and interest. So you have 3 million principal, penalties and interest is like 1.5. So you have 4.5. Ukienda pale kwa system kulipa, unachagua principal peke yake. Unaachana na penalties na interest. And do this always. Ukiwa tu na tax issues, always pay principal. Penalties and interest, hizo unaachana nazo kwanza until you first pay your principal. When the principal is over, you can now start planning about penalties and interest, or you can wait for something like this. Sijui kama we're going to have it next year and the other year. This is a conversation that we saw. Amnesty started coming in about 3 years ago, na imekuwa tu recurrent, inasimama inarudi. So sometimes it's important to just pay that. And when you pay the principal amount, previously these penalties and interest zilikuwa zinajitoa zenyewe, ama there's a way we used to do it, unaweka 1 shillings alafu unalipa hiyo 1 shillings inajitoa. So we'll figure it out. I'll tell you next month vile amnesty inatoka, if it is giving us a challenge ama inatoka automatically. You can be able to, we'll tell you how to work it out. Also, if you're having tax issues, if you're having an audit that is going on, a KRA audit that is going on, kindly you can be able to finalize on the audit so that you can enjoy the amnesty. Is also able to push a bit of these cases that you're having. Kama case iko objection, iko tribunal, iko ADR, push so that it will be finalized, so that you can be able to enjoy some of this. Sometimes we have cash flow issues. So you might be, KRA is demanding 5 million, na hata ujui mahali zitatoka. So what you can be able to really pay, hata ukapewa hii amnesty, ni like 1 million. You still enjoy penalties for that section. So there's a way we do it. So I guess I'll do an elaboration next time. My co-host andika hiyo mahali. So there's a way, for instance, if you do VAT itakuwa every month. You have like VAT for 12 months. Zile hujakuwa umelipa ama zile assessment KRA walikuwekea. They are there on the portal. So you're going to choose a principal amount. For instance, for 3 months. For 3 months, the principal amount is like 300,000. That principal amount, the same month, they have penalties and they have interests. So you pick the 3 months principal only. The penalties and interest unaziwacha pale kwa system. So you can enjoy that amnesty for those 3 months, hata kama hizi miezi zingine hujalipa. So I guess you can share on the chat if you'd want to know more about that, so that I can be able to create a slide next time. Withholding tax relief, I've mentioned about this. It has come to the Finance Act because it was a really hard issue. Relief on withholding agents has been retained, protecting agents where the tax has already been paid by the recipient. So this was happening mostly for withholding tax agents. KRA has appointed you as an agent. You're doing VAT, 2% withholding. You've not been able to withhold on this client. After that, you pay them fully. When KRA comes, they tell you to lipa 2%. Now already ulipatia you pay them fully. So at the moment, KRA will charge you penalties and interest for not doing this. So that is how the cases are happening at the moment. So this is a relief. Of course, as a tax agent, it is very important for you to do full withholding, because at the end of the day, you still KRA will always raise issues on those withholding that you're not doing. So this is always a very big tax issue. So if you are withholding agent, whether umechaguliwa kama VAT, whether ni rental, there are companies that are chosen as withholding agents for rent, especially if they are having a lot of commercial space. Just be able to do some of this, some of this withholding. Also, kuna withholding zile tunafanya as a professional. There are so many withholding. So sometimes it's important because if you don't do them, they always bring issues. But it's also a very big relief. Imagine the story I gave you. KRA will come and pick all your purchases and see your purchases for the whole year is 50 million. You withheld 2% for 20 million. 30 million you did not do. And I said withholding for VAT, it is done upon payment. Withholding is done upon payment. So someone might raise an invoice, but you're not paid for it. If you're not paid, you're not supposed to do the withholding. So upon pay, the point where you are paying them, whether ni cash, whether ni check, you're supposed to do the withholding. So KRA will come and say, this 30 million, you did not withhold. Wanna charge 2%. After charging 2%, they also charge you penalties and interest. So it's a big issue because you have to tell them this 30 million, kuna hii 10, I've not paid them yet. They're still on credits. They are part of my creditors. But 20 million, yes, I paid them fully. So there's a lot of audits when you're especially an agent. I hope tumeelewa hiyo. Recovery of non-tax dues, you can ask a question. I'm almost coming to an end. Recovery of non-tax dues, KRA can recover unpaid government fees and levies using tax recovery mechanism. Of course, improving efficiency in collecting government revenues. Recovery on non-tax dues. So KRA can be able to recover government fees and levies. So we have so many levies and government fees, rand rates, all those fees and levies. So this is something that you're going to see how KRA can be able to come in. And we even have something like affordable housing levy, which is part of a levy. And there's a time, I guess last year, KRA came so much to ask us about affordable housing levy. Na by then, mnaweza niambia hapo kwa chat if you're still paying affordable housing levy. And KRA sent a lot of letters when they started comparing our salaries, wages, and comparing if we are paying the affordable housing levy. And when we started answering the questions, it was not clear who should collect these levies. And all of a sudden, KRA went silent on collection of affordable housing levy. And it started being an area of issues. And I'm sure some of these levies, your affordable housing levy, during the letter hiki too. So there was a tug of war. Who should be able to ask, who should be able to follow if companies are doing these levies. So you can tell me, because I heard some of companies are not doing affordable housing levy. But whoever endelea kuifanya, you never know how some of these things will come and affect the company. So we're going to see how KRA responds on this and how they do that. Of course, when it comes to levies, KRA always states that they don't have money power to do some of these activities, and especially some of these levies that are supposed to go somewhere else. And we also saw something like advanced tax, magari, some of those, because at the end of the day, they say these levies are used somewhere and this money is being used somewhere else. unapata they are not really keen on that. So this is an ongoing conversation. Of course, possibly because of this ruling, they will come back and start doing collection. So I'm going to tell you what happens. Agency notice remains suspended while a valid appeal is pending. This was very huge and very punitive. KRA has stated, as I mentioned what KRA had stated. You can continue giving me your questions. I can see your emails. Kindly push your emails on the link. Kindly do the emails on the link. Kindly do the emails on the link provided so that it will be easier for us to be able to share. Okay. So agency notice had stated that if you have tax arrears, of course, when you go through assessment, KRA assess you, and then you go to objection, you go to the tribunal, to the ADR, to the courts. They had stated that even if you're going through the process, that they will still issue agency notice to recover that money. Remember, you're saying that I'm not liable to pay these taxes, and then an agency notice is issued to collect the money. It was very punitive. And what is an agency notice? An agency notice is sent to your bank to request the bank to send them money. You have in tax arrears, to send KRA that the money in the bank to send to them. It is also issued to your customers, to your tenants, if you are a landlord. And we have seen KRA being so aggressive, even issuing to the customers. And the customers are being instructed, instead of paying this money that you owe this person, pay KRA. And how do KRA know your customer? Know your customer through iTax, through the data that you provide. So they can be able to analyze and see who is your biggest customer. And of course, watajua, if you're selling in debt, on debt, they also check pale kwa debtors, wanaona kuna pesa customers wajakulipa. So they know when they are sending that letter to the customer, the customer can pay them. Of course, what happens if you receive that agency notice, as tuseme sasa ni wewe unai-receive on behalf of your, tutamuita nani, wewe ni customer, so the other person is who? So you receive that letter. Is it a must for you to to send that money to KRA? Because someone asked me that, now receiving the barua, what am I supposed to do? There's no rule that states that you're supposed to send that money on behalf of the KRA, on behalf of that person to KRA. There's no penalties, there's no interest, there's no force. But what I see is that it breaks a relationship that you're having with your customer, client. There's a relationship in a haribu. Kwa sababu, that person calls you and tells you, KRA wamenitumia barua. They are telling me, kwanza, first of all, they say that you're owing KRA 10 million. Wanakuanika 10 million. So that 10 million, and they tell you now you're supposed to recover, send KRA that money. You start having issues. Unaanza kusema, jua kona tax issues, ama ataniweka pia kwa tax issues. So you start having ideas. So it breaks a relationship that you've been having for business. So that is, I think that is the main thing that it does, but there's no force for you to be able to pay them. Another thing that I see, KRA also sends you letters to tell you to give them information about somebody, information about your client, they also send you that. They can tell you, we are going through audit with this client, would want you to share with us invoices that they've been able to raise or receipts. They can also be able to write you that letter. So when they also do that, it's not a force for you to be able to do it. But it just breaks a relationship somewhere. And you're like, easy companies, economic tax issues. Let's look for another customer. We don't want this to work with this one who is having issues. So that is the negativity that happens. Even with the bank. Remember, this bank is a bank that you go to borrow a loan. Is a bank that you're having a relationship. All of a sudden, they receive a letter from KRA. And they call you, they tell you, we have received this letter. And banks are very aggressive, by the way. Bank haitakupea pesa. bank will comply. Bank will comply. Sio kama customer. Customer will refuse, and they will not do that. But bank, a lot of banks, what happens? Sometimes bank might not really send money to KRA, but they will not, what I've seen banks do, because of course you're having relationship with the bank, you will not be able to withdraw. You will not be able to withdraw any money until you solve that issue. And when KRA is a bit aggressive, they can write to the bank and ask them how much money is in the account. So that is something that I've seen. And the bank will respond very quickly and say, remember, possibly they have sent and say they want 10 million. So the bank will say we have 2 million or we have 1 million in the account. So the KRA will respond with a PRN or an e-slip. So wana generate e-slip wao wenyewe, ama what we call a PRN, wana generate wao wenyewe, wanatumia bank. Remember, payment should be interconnected to a PRN. Kuna hiyo coding. Hiyo pesa ikiingia haitaenda kufanywa reconciliation, inaingia kwa system yako automatically. So KRA will raise a PRN to the bank, instructing the bank, hiyo 1 million lipa na hiyo e-slip ama na hiyo PRN. So these are some things that I've been able to see. So when you receive an agency notice, it's also very important for you to act very quickly, because if you don't, ukihold tu hivi, utapata bank ilishatuma ile pesa yote ilikuwa kwa account to KRA, because they are looking for response. And what is the response? You go to them, give them a payment plan, and start working on that payment plan. And by the time KRA issues an agency notice, they issue a demand. And if you've seen my TikTok, I've always talked about the process. They issue a demand. There's a process they follow. So you don't wake up one morning and you have an agency notice. And make sure that you see your emails. They can be able to call you, and you can have a conversation when you're having cash flow issues, because some of this happens because you're having cash flow issues. Have a conversation with KRA. Tell them, I know I'm supposed to pay 300,000. I've been able to pay 100. I'll pay the next 15 next week. The other week I'll pay 50. The other one, and you can even say I'll be paying 50,000 per week. It will be a bit easier, because at the end of the day, when some of these things are issued, when the agency notice hits your bank, for them to be able to remove it or to lift it on a petition, possibly 50%. They tell you pay 50%. So if it is 10 million, pay 50%. And now you start having a lot of issues, because you don't even know where you're going to get that money from. So it becomes very forced. So I've really talked about that because it's a very huge issue. The certificate of origin, the requirement for imports document remains unchanged. So the certificate of origin continues to meet. It's very important. It's a document that you have to keep giving it. especially when you are doing the imports. Offsetting of unpaid tax. Taxpayers can still offset unpaid tax against VAT on imports. So if you're having overpaid taxes against VAT, you can be able to offset. And also we saw during the a lot of improvement of the offsetting happening when we were doing the June return. If you did installment, even the previous year, if you had installment for year 2024, right now the system is able to really give a lot of debit vouchers to just use for offsetting. So it is something that is now a bit easier. Populated tax returns. We are still on the Finance Act 2026. KRA will introduce pre-filed tax return for taxpayers to review and confirm. So they are simplified tax filing, but taxpayers must verify the accuracy of pre-filed information. So a pre-populated tax return. So this also happens for our VATs. Although we always say that the pre-populated KRA inatufanyia tu, so we see a self-assessment anymore. But now the part where we have to verify is where now they are saying is still a self-assessment because you're verifying. Of course, the pre-populated also comes with errors and so many issues. So the accuracy, the verifying accuracy is also very, very important. Objection and appeal timelines. I'm going to end it within the next 10 minutes so that I can look at your return, your questions. The objection and appeal timeline. So weekend and public holidays remain excluded when calculating filing deadlines. So that one, there was that they are supposed to be included there. Remember, when you're doing objection, the objection should be done within 30 days. And the conclusion of it should be done within 60 days. And it is a very quick process. So you have to really keep your document. 90 days, your siku kidogo. Appeal, also, when you get the objection decision, for you to be able to appeal, you have to do it within 30 days also. And also the determination also had timelines when you go to ADR, although some of these things you can, for the tribunal, for the ADR, you can still request for more time when you go, because you do hearings. You continue asking for more time, but it comes to a point where the commissioner tells you we cannot give you more time. So remember, for you to go through all this process, objection, appeal, tribunal, courts, kokote, need documents to evidence. So if you have evidence, you can be able, and proper documentation, you can be able to answer all your questions even at the assessing level and be able to conclude the issue. At the objection, you can still be able to do that. Most of us buy time because we don't have documents, we don't, so many issues that most of these processes, zingine is a buy two time. Electronic tax system, this is ITIMS. So penalties for electronic filing failures have been revised with higher penalties. So you are supposed to be able to use ITIMS. Waiver of electronic system penalties. KRA may waiver penalties arising from system errors. When the system was brought on board, there are so many system errors that were there. So make sure the KRA can now be able to waive penalties arising from system errors for case up to 2 million. So you can be able to make it easier to resolve low value disputes caused by the system. So this one can be done at the station, at the accounts managers level. And remember, when we are having ITIMS issues, items lazima ujue kuitumia vizuri. Most of our issues are not even system generated. There is us having poor knowledge of how to use the system. For instance, today, if you do an invoice of 20 million and it was supposed to be 2 million, of course, in a great tax, and then you do a credit note. And sometimes I don't know how we do it, because someone will do something like that, and then they will notice next month when the month is over, or something just happens. So a credit note was not raised on time. By then, for you to be able to solve such an issue, when you go to KRA, the process that you follow, even audit, for them to be able to solve some of these issues, is very huge. And sometimes, and remember, that invoice is raising penalties, interest. It becomes very complicated. Or you're supposed to do something under exempt, unaifanya kwa standard rated. All those issues, for you to solve them, zinakuwa na process mrefu. So sometimes how to use the system well becomes one of the biggest issues. So let me see what I'm going to cover on this. Bad debts relief, VAT relief on bad debts can only be claimed after 3 years instead of 3 years, instead of 2 years. So VAT relief on bad debts. Remember, bad debts, this is something that you sold to a customer, and after selling, you raised an invoice for that customer to be able to pay you. And after some time, the customer is unable to pay you, and you go to claim the VAT on that bad debt. Remember, bad debts you can also claim as an expense. So the part where that you're staying longer is also to make sure that that customer will not come and pay you after those 2 years. You will recover. But of course, for you to get the VAT relief, pia kuna ka process. Impact delays of VAT refunds and affecting business cash flow. So it's also the impact of that. For you to get refunds and those, there's a process that you have to follow, audits na nini. So it's like a process also. VAT invoices remain limited to taxable supplies. Taxable supply maintains current invoicing requirement for registered taxpayers. So VAT invoices remained limited to taxable supplies. So if you're selling anything that is vatable, you're the one who is supposed to do VAT. You have to be registered for VAT, whether under zero rated, exempt, standard rated, for you to be able to issue VAT invoices and also to claim them. And we had an issue with of that VAT element, by the way, for people who are not registered for VAT, but they got purchases that were vatable. When you go to items data was giving us exclusive of VAT. So they were losing that VAT element, and that VAT element, it's supposed to come to them as cost, kwa sababu hawana VAT. So I am very sure that the system next time will be able to be is something that relates, will be able to see the changes that they are going to be able to do. Zero-rated items, proposed changes to exempt several zero-rated products were dropped. So if you remember when I talked about the finance bill, I made a full list there were some things that was rated going to exempt, under exempted going to VAT, and that happened. So it is important to check in your industry specific areas that are getting affected. So some of those areas were dropped. You can be able to look at that. You can be able to look at that. Affordable housing goods VAT exemption for construction goods has been removed. So there was a proposal for VAT exempted for construction goods, raises development costs, although input VAT may still be recoverable. Of course, this was to push the affordable housing area. Construction materials are vatable when it comes to cement, steel, all that. So when you come to this and you exempt them, it's a very huge department. And of course, how do you determine that this is affordable housing? Of course, kuna zile zinajengwa affordable, but there are also other schemes that are done by individuals, and they go get a certification that whatever they are doing is affordable. So that has been removed, has been removed. Also under VAT, I talked about scrap metal that has been now VAT exempted. And then after the exemption, there is a withholding that has been replaced, of course, in a simpler manner for them to be able to do work. National Infrastructure Funds project goods used to in approved the National Infrastructure Fund project are VAT exempt. And for you to be on this project, they have the exemption. I mentioned that exemption on a project. You have to get the exemption certificate from Treasury. So don't get a tender, imeandikwa exempted, and you say, now I'm exempted. You have to get the exemption certificate. And previously I've elaborated cases in the tribunal and in the courts of companies that got tenders that were exempted, but they did not get an exemption certificate. After the project is over, KRA comes and tells you, give us an exemption certificate. You don't have it, and they charge you the full entire project VAT, and it comes as a big case. So before you sign those documents, tell them, before I do this, let me take me through the process and give me that exemption certificate. And of course, that exemption certificate is also the certificate you use to buy some of these items. So we had pharmaceutical issues, aircraft, of course, also enjoying a bit of VAT exemptions. You can be able to look at the VAT, what was exempted, what moved out. The other time I elaborated a full structure, but here I just mentioned each one of it, even electrical bicycles. Some of these areas are put there to be able to promote some of these industries. So with that, I would want to go back and answer a few questions. So on excise duty, we had the juice, and sweetened juice is taxed. There's remember, when it comes to excise duty, it is taxed on the liters. It's on the manufacturing of that product, and it is measured on liters. So there was some changes on juices. You can be able to see if you're affected. I talked about the bottled water, and also some of this also is being put there to make sure that the water is also affordable to consumers. Also the brewers there was a changes, the tobacco, there were changes on the excise. So you can be able to look at your industry and be able to see the different changes that are happening on excise duty. I also talked about excise duty on betting. Use and are now exempted from excise duty. Yes. So it's quite a lot. I'm going to break it down, each one of it, to a reel, a TikTok reel. So you can check it out next week on elaboration of this. Is quite a lot, and I can be able to elaborate. For instance, imported timber product, what was there, what is now, and what is the impact on a reel, so that it becomes more easier to understand. For instance, the Act introduces 30% excise duty on imported MDF boards. So those boards act to encourage local manufacturing, but increasing cost on imports. Some of these things, you can tell me how much MDF we produce in Kenya. Most of these things we really import. So at the end of the day, that cost will just go up, because it's the biggest of these items. We import them, even imported sanitary fittings, all those things. Most of them we import them. So it means that the whole construction industries goes up, because we are doing a lot of imports. So for me, when I see about imports, I think the easier portion, if you want to push local production and local manufacturing, is to give them rebates and to lower costs. For instance, you tell them raw materials for this and this, we have reduced, so that you push the local production. So with that, I can be able to look at your questions. Allow me to look at your questions. And I hope you've been able to follow. Hope my internet is not breaking. You able to follow? So you can ask me a question. Okay. So someone is asking, isn't that against data protection? Can you sue KRA? So you can tell me on the chat if you lost me. Am I you still here? My co-host, kindly share the link, or the link was shared. Kindly share the link. Okay. So you can tell me if you're still here with me, you can say a yes. So Moses is saying the tax amnesty is yet to be enhanced online on the iTax portal by KRA. The automatic upon payment of principal is misleading as responded to question post. No, this is what I said. We are going to check in the next month. I'm going to show you the process of how to do the amnesty. I stated what was happening previously. At the tail end, we saw automatic being pushed out. And I also mentioned that there was a somewhere we used to put 1 shillings and then we pay, and then zinajitoa zenyewe. So I said I'm going to look at the system and I'm going to show you the process. So that one I'll be able to mention. You will not be able to access the funds in your bank account till you sort with the KRA when you receive the agency notice. True. True, that is very true. You have to solve the issue with the agency notice, and they have to write to the bank again for them to lift that agency notice. So you have to do a payment plan. You have to go through the process. You do a payment. If they give you 6 months, you do a payment, the first installment, so that they can do the letter. How is it the tax matter handled between where the uses personal account for business and has employees with no other tax obligation? Let me read that again. Okay. Okay. So people are saying, oh, I asked a question about affordable housing levy. Affordable housing levy, yes. I can see people are still paying. Okay, yes. If the withholding is due to be paid, proceeds to follow the payment with the supplier or agree it to go to your who is subjected, who are subject to the audit. You who is the tax who is the appointed tax withholding agent. You who is the tax agent appointed by KRA, you are supposed, is your request, you are supposed to do the withholding and remit that money to KRA. So wewe ndio utakuwa audited. Na wewe ndio utachajiwa penalties and interests for not withholding. So I see we are paying, yes, we are paying for affordable housing levy. Iko sawa. Let's continue paying for it. Let's continue paying for it. For withholding taxes, Court of Appeal ruled that the paid for withhold includes when an expense is okay. Okay. Sometimes I go to read it, inapotea. Okay, let me look for that again. Okay. Kindly share your email on the link. Okay, let me go back to here. How is the tax matter handled when the franchisor and franchisee, in case where the franchisee uses person account for business and has employees with no other tax obligation? So I'm imagining that you're doing a business that you've been given a franchise. For instance, an international company. So you're using their PIN to do business. But you have employees. So employees wako kwa PIN yako, biashara iko kwa PIN ile ingine. So some of these things has employee with, okay, some of these things happens on how you elaborate, how you do business to KRA. And if there's no tax losses, there's no big deal. There's no big deal on it. So, of course, some of these things, when you do, for instance, if you're filing for taxes, kwa hii yako, hii unafanya employee peke yake. What are the things that you're doing? Ama ukikuja kufile unaweka salaries peke yake. And then the hakuna income, hakuna expenses. How do you do that? Some of these things, sometimes you really need to consider how you're operating them, because of course, if you file that way, to come with an issue. Kindly advise about additional assessment issued 2 years ago. How can I object, pay the correct taxes, and benefit from the amnesty? That's a good question, Dan. You can do a late objection. And if you're not able, you can pick our number. We can guide you through. Ama utupe your kazi pia. You can be able to do a late objection. Of course, when you're doing a late objection, you have to explain, where were you for 2 years? Where were you? Objection should happen within 30 days. So from 30 days to 2 years, you must have a very good reason. But you can be able to cite your case, and your case can be accepted, and that objection can be accepted. For the question to deactivate deactivate MRI on proof of property, can I attach a copy of title? Why do you want to reactivate MRI? Was it deactivated? Now you want to reactivate again? You can ask what is the correct information KRA is want. So if they ask if a copy of title was one of the lists, it's still okay to provide. In the era of pre-populated expenses, how does one go about having expenses that are incurred outside the eTIMS platform, such as paying airline ticket for business meetings, payment of consultancy below the threshold to neighboring county Tanzania? Thank you. Okay. So for these ones, when we filed for year 2025, we were able to work it out because there were sections, and I elaborated how to put easy airline. Kulikuwa na hizo exemptions na zilikuwa clear. So if you put these tickets, if you do interest expense, zilikuwa pale, and we were using them properly. So there's no problem of having this. We're going to see how the system is going to do. Remember, income tax inafanywa once a month, once a year. So there's no big problem. We're going to see how KRA reacts on some of these areas. But these ones, these expenses that are exempted from eTIMS, you also find that these expenses are exempted from VAT. So you don't need them on a monthly basis. if you're needing them, KRA should have worked on them. By the way, KRA also worked on electricity, on water. We are finding that information on eTeams. So they really worked on some of these organizations and parastatals to make sure that that data, you're going to find that data there. And by the way, also for electricity and water, if you registered, and I mentioned this, if you registered the company, electricity and water, under the director's PIN, we were finding that information on the director's PIN. And remember, that is an expense you want to claim on the company. So you can be able to do those changes so that next time you don't get that information there. So I'll answer two more. Let me answer two more. Please say something about on sugar importation taxes. We heavily do that. Oscar. Oscar, I would love to know more about your business. Kindly, you can get my number and then we can talk further. Sugar is one of the, sugar importation is one of hardest business to do in Kenya. If there's a business that is audited again, it is the importation of sugar. Remember, sugar is vatable. But you find most companies, sijui Oscar mnaiuzaje, unaipata inauzwa huku chini, cash business. And there are also so many illegal importation of sugar. So because of that issues, KRA, if you're doing imports ya sugar, you should have a very good tax consultant. Otherwise, that is guaranteed audit every year. Guarantee audit every year. What of the imported service? Will they still be eTeams exempted? Because they don't have VAT and we also can't withhold since it will be a double payment. So you imported a service. So when you imported a service, for instance, you imported tax services, for instance, audit services from Uganda to Kenya. What you're supposed to do is withholding. Withholding ni lazima. Withholding ni lazima. And for that, you are supposed to pay more on withholding because that is the tax that you're going to be able to raise. Please comment again on data protection and suing KRA for discussing my data with that party. Miriam, okay, hiyo nadhani tutalobby and we tell them data protection. They should read the act properly. But KRA holds autonomy to most of these things. Remember, they have a lot of data and a lot of information about you. So much. Even kuitisha bank pesa, bank statement zako without your consent. I don't know how can we be able to lobby on that? But that party information for sure, it really damages, especially when they send to your customer, it really damages your relationship with your customer. So hapo sijui why they do that. I guess that is something that we should be able to talk about it. Jacinta anasema hiyo ya 1 shillings ina work. Thank you, Jacinta. So, amesema if you do the amnesty, hiyo ya 1 shillings inafanya. There's a way we were doing it. When you do 1 shillings inajitoa. But I mentioned that one I'll be able to demo. Allow me to demo next month when we are doing tax trends. On withholding, is the agent supposed to withhold receipts from supermarkets? Because we can't know at the counter. Some of these things are very withholding was ifanya 100%. Sometimes it's not applicable. Sometimes KRA pushes so much, but sio possible. So and his is a supermarket. I'm hoping ni vitu kidogo kidogo, sio vitu mingi, because also supermarket. Remember for a population of items data na VAT, lazima upeane pin yako. So even supermarket are accepting pins. I hope we know that. So ndio unaipata hiyo information automatically on the VAT. I joined a company in ya mwisho, Martin. I joined a company and realized the parent company year 2023, 24, 25 had not filed for taxes. How do I deal with pay as it has not also been filed for 23, 24? Were the employees deducted hiyo pay kwanza? So, so what I can suggest is file for income tax. After you file for income tax, know that you have issues. And then possibly one time KRA will go through, will call you for an audit. They will be able to realize that and you can pay at that particular point. Ama unaweza fanya voluntary disclosure. Voluntary disclosure, by the way, mechanism is still there. You can voluntarily disclose that we did not pay for pay as you earn. Ubaya tu KRA inachukulianga inakuwa kitu ngumu. What you wanted to declare, sasa nao wanairefusha, wanaanza kuaudit vitu hata huko huko unataka kuvoluntary declare. So you can do that, or you can file for 2023, 2024 income tax. That is important. For pay as you earn, because pay as you earn is filed differently. Unaona unaifanya kila mwezi, so sio kitu unaweza kuja nyuma ujifanyie we mwenyewe, not unless an additional assessment is raised by KRA on their side and a pay as you earn. So you can wait until you're audited and then they can be able to raise on their side. KRA audits are tough, so wakati mwingine unaachana tu nazo. But for audit, file for 2023, 2024 is important. And if you need some help on that, we can still help. To deactivate MRI that was erroneously added to my PIN, do I have to file open the return from where the obligation was added, or should I seek the registration without filing? Okay, realize to hivi immediately, Moses, do the new return. Do the new return. So when you start asking for the registration, you find that KRA would register you on that final month. Kama iliwekwa January, wataregister June, and then itaweka hizo penalties zote. So you do a new return every month, and then you can seek the registration. The good side, we have the amnesty, although it's not covered in 2026, but uko nyuma, you can seek the amnesty, and then you can, as you sit, the registration. So I talked that the registration sometimes takes a process. It takes a process, and sometimes you have to really follow. So *222#, the USSD code for eTIMS has been down since yesterday. Uni Gladys. So am I generate eTIMS receipt? Gladys, enda kwa eCitizen portal, enda kwa iTax portal, you'll be able to generate that receipt. So there are options. You can go through a cyber nyingi sasa zimejua how to do the eTIMS receipt, and you can be able to get help. So USSD is very easy because you use it on the phone, but kuna eCitizen na hizo zingine you can be able to use there. Okay, with that, I want to say thank you so much. Asanteni sana for coming to learn. We'll continue this discussion next week on Friday. Next week on Friday, I'll be talking about, let me see. We'll be talking, by the way, we are introducing LWK magazine. So some of these things that you're talking about, the tax cases, this act and everything, we'll be able to discuss them in length, and you can be able to subscribe to it. It will be free of charge, and you can be able to learn a few details. When it comes to taxes, it's just learning. Sometimes it's very dynamic, keeps changing, so you have to be learning. So on Friday 24th, we'll be talking about taxation of non-government organizations and charitable trusts. This was something that you really been asking. And is NGO supposed to register for eTIMS and collect also eTIMS on their purchases and expenses? We'll answer all that questions on 24th July 2026. And are NGOs audited? Tutasema hiyo. How do you prepare for KRA tax audits? This will be on 31st July. We are entering a tax audit season from August to December. KRA issues a lot of letters, a lot. So when you get that email, when you get that call, when you get that request to be audited, what are the procedures? What documents should you have? How should you go through the process? And if you get that assessment, remember, Saizi, we have the default assessment and the assessment. How should you conduct objection and the other areas? So we'll talk about KRA tax audits, and it will be very, very important. Remember, a company should be audited within 5 years. So we're going to also talk about why are companies audited. There are some companies that are really audited. Kama hivyo nimesema sugar importation company, every year there's something happening. So we also have taxation masterclass, will be from 9th to 11th September. 9th to 25th. So we have both physical training and online training. The good side with our master classes are very practical because of the work that we do, interact with customers, data clients, data. So we have the practical CLA theory. Will train you on filing, on taxes, on the tax audit processes, everything. And it is a very, very good training for you to learn. So we have a physical class for 3 days, and we have the online for 10 days, 2 hours a day. We also give you a certificate at the end of the day. So you can be able to register early and be able to just put your finances together for the training. We also have the audit and bookkeeping masterclass. This will be happening in November. By the way, this ni hii tu tumefanya hii mwaka. We realize that we are training so much on tax, and most of our issues are the audit and the bookkeeping is a backbone for tax. So if you're not keeping books properly, if your internal controls have issues, then you have issues with your taxation. So we felt it was important to be able to do our audit and our bookkeeping properly. So you can also, this will also enhance your skills with whatever you're doing on a day-to-day basis. So we also have a physical class and an online class, charging the same amount. That will be November, and it will be extremely practical. So we have an accounting software. We call it My Accurate Books. I'm very sure that by now you've seen it somewhere. And if you've been able to see it somewhere and use it, you can say a yes on the chat. I want to see a yes on the chat. And this one, by the way, has been one of the reasons that Business Daily recognized us and for this innovation, that we are able to give an accounting software that is fit for SMEs and fit for people who don't have a lot of knowledge in accounting, to be able to use a very simplified system to be able to manage their books. And remember, I mentioned that bookkeeping is a backbone of your business for taxes, everything. So if the proper record keeping is not there, I even have challenges as a tax consultant when I'm representing you. So, and most of our businesses fail because we don't even know our profitability and so many other things. And now the My Accurate Books is eTIMS compliant. Through Digitax, we've been able to integrate the system, and you can be able to use it at a click of a button, be able to get a receipt or an invoice that is eTIMS compliant. And it is very, very easy. Ukitoa tu ile receipt yako inatoka na scan ya eTIMS automatically. So for SMEs, even the people are saying, I don't know how to use eTIMS, it's very complex. With the system now, using the system is giving you that eTIMS receipt integrated, which is very, very simplified. And it is so cheap, so affordable at 800 shillings if you want the eTIMS feature. If you don't want the eTIMS feature, at the 500 shillings. And it also have the payment wallet for you who use M-Pesa, especially to manage your expenses and your purchases. You can be able to use the wallet and be able to also integrate it in the system, even to be able to help you with bank reconciliation. So it is a very local solution that is able to solve so many issues that we find in the marketplace, especially when we are doing audit and tax. And we also have a payroll, by the way. So we were able to incorporate a payroll. So the payroll is on the trial. We've been able to give it to the existing subscribers to be able to use it and give us a review. So by next month, it will be here with us, and it will be affordable, and it will also be able to help you do your pay as you earn properly and or align all your documents. So with that, you can be able to talk to us through our number 0728 897 429, and especially for tax services, because that is the docket I sit in to represent you at KRA for all your tax issues. You can be able to talk to us. So 0728 897 429. You can be able to follow us online on all platforms. I really talk about tax. And all the issues that I've talked today, by Monday or Tuesday, I'll be able to break it down in very small videos that you can be able to consume, and you can be able to share with your director and tell them, Ebu skiza hiyo, because I know we are having this challenge, so that you can be able to do better business. Tax is a subject that you have to consider in Kenya if you want to grow a business that is scalable. If it is have volumes, then tax is a must. Otherwise, you sometimes we bury our heads somewhere, and one day KRA just comes and interested in my accurate books. Can we get a demo? Yes, we are getting a demo right now in 10 minutes time. So I would want to request you. I'd want to really say thank you for coming to learn. So I want to invite my friend Joachim to show us a demo for my accurate. Sawa. Within 10 minutes, 10 minutes na atatuonyesha hiyo items integration. Atatuonyesha items integration. So James anasema MRI reactivation not fully understood. James, I would prefer if you'd go to KRA and ask them that, tell them you want to reactivate the MRI and ask them for documentation. Possibly what are reactivate to even without documentation. You know, they also need that MRI, they want your tax. So wanaweza hata reactivate too. So that is something that requires KRA intervention, that the account manager or somebody to be able to help you. Is tax training NITA compliance? Yes. So we are NITA registered. So if you want to come in that line, that you bring your customer and then you bring your staff and then you request for NITA to be able to settle those bills. We are NITA registered. Yes, so we're going to do a demo within 10 minutes. So Kimunge is saying, yes, from Trans Nzoia, it is a nice system, asante sana, though not using eTIMS. Kuja utumia eTIMS. I know there are people who are asking us, nikitumia eTIMS, niki-integrate, does it mean nitakuwa tu nikitumia eTIMS all along? So hiyo ukitaka nitakujibu, hiyo sitajibu hapa, nitakujibu hiyo personalized. Yes, we are going to show you right now how the eTIMS version looks like. So I'm going to welcome. Yes, we have data protection. We've signed data privacy documentation for the system, and the system is crowd-based, and we can also not know the information that you put there. So we cannot be able to do. When data gets there, it's encrypted. You hold autonomy of the information. We cannot know. We cannot tell the information that is there. That information is your information, and for you to be able to be able to generate such a software, we go through a lot of regulations on some of these. The only place where possibly we hold data is the customer name, email, because those are the information you provide for downloading. But the rest of how you're operating the system, no. And even for us to be able to host that information that of your name and your company, we have regulations that we have done for data privacy and being answerable. So Joachim, karibu. Very educative, asante. If you're not filed for previous periods, they will not be able to comply to the current period. Yes. So for taxes, you have to file. Hata ukienda kufile anything, it has to tell you to file the previous period. So you have to. Even for us who don't file VAT, ukienda kwa autopopulate unapata you're supposed to pay 3,500,000, 100, and you don't have that money, unaachana nayo. You cannot be able to file for previous, current period without previous. Joachim, you ready? You can tell me. So James Bogo, we used to file annually, but since then the collection has gone down and therefore opted to file monthly. Is still okay? If you've been doing MRI, you can opt for monthly. It's still okay. And monthly is final. Remember also, if you're going to go for the yearly, lazima ikuwe subject. The expenses have to be ITIMS compliant. So if you're doing repairs, if you're doing whatever electricity, but we saw electricity being ITIMS compliant, unaenda ITIMS way. So with that, asanteni sana. May you have a lovely Friday. I will come Joaquin to proceed.
Good afternoon. So I'm David. So I'll be able to take you through just a short overview of our accounting software, which is very simplified, as Dr. Regina has just talked about it. So I'll just take you through it, have an overview of how the system performs, because again, also now we have the ITIMS integration, how you can navigate through the system with the ITIMS onboarded on the system, instead of having to run two softwares at separate entities. So I will. So this is now my the landing page of my Accurate Books, our accounting software. So basically, hope you can see my screen. If you can see my screen, you can share a thumbs up. Okay. So this is my Accurate Books, the landing page on the website. So the system, you can be able to use it on either mobile phone or on the computer. So you can be able to run it on the both of the two modules, or your iPad, and any device that can be able to connect to internet. So basically, you can be able to generate receipts from the system, do stock control customer dates, multi-business, and also multi-branches. So some of the key features of the system is about the sales and receipts. So you can be able to generate receipts and invoices from the system. You can also be able to do stock control. You deal with a product business, and also you can be able to manage on customer dates. And also you can also be able to have multiple users in the system with different assigned permissions. And also the multi-branch aspect, whereby you can be able to run multiple branches of the system. So as I continue talking about the system, you can always drop a question about the system on the chat, and then I'll be able to take them in the next 5 minutes. So those are some of the key features of the system. The other key features of the system is the inventory management, sales and POS. Also, it has the purchase management, whereby you can have your suppliers. You can be able to have all the purchases, and also you can be able to pull purchases through the ITIMS portal. And also you can be able to see you can be able to have all the expenses you incur in the business under the expense. Then there is also the customers, whereby you can be able to read the customer statements, data, and also it has the accounting module, whereby you can be able to generate all the accounting modules from cash flow, balance sheet, trade balance, general ledgers, and also ability to create different charts of accounts, and also generating your financial reports. So those are some of the key features on the system. So it has a lot of features on the system. So as you interact with the system, you can be able to interact with more of the features. So I'll just now log into my account where I can just take you through how the system looks like from the inside. So let me just log in. So the moment you log into your account, these are basically the overview you'll be able to get. Just a minute. So basically, the overview you'll be able to get the moment that you log into your account. You can be able to see the dashboard analytics from now the admin side. You can be able to see the sales of the business, the expenses, the purchases, the profit and loss, the sales performance in a graphical way, and also the data and also the creditors report, and also a financial overview, and also a breakdown of your top selling items or services, and also their breakdown. So it basically gives you an overview of the business is performing. If you have multiple branches, you can also be able to switch from one branch to the other branch and see how each branch is performing, because I will be able to treat each branch as a business entity. And also from the dashboard, if you have created an account, you want to know to be onboarded on eTeams, so just click request onboarding, and then we can be able to start the process of onboarding your account into the eTeams. Then if you run multiple companies, you can also be able to have them on the system, so you can always be able to switch from one company to the other and be able to input the different entries that are required in that particular company. So that is basically the dashboard. The inventory, it has also the inventory whereby you can be able to have your products and services that you are particularly selling. So you can be able to synchronize those particular services and also the product to the team, so that when generating an invoice or a receipt, it can be able to capture on the team's portal. So the system, you can be able to generate eTeams invoices, and also if you don't want to generate that particular invoice, you don't want it to go to the eTeams, again, you can always turn off the eTeams tab off, so that you can just generate that invoice. So it has, you can be able to have all your products and also all the services you offer in the system. And then again, if you have branches, you can always be able to do a stock transfer within the branches, and also you can be able to do a stock take using the system. Also, it has the sales, which is a sales feature whereby you can be able to generate receipts, invoices, and also make quotation, credit notes, and also receive a payment from pending payments from your customers with sold on credit. So when I click on view sales, it will just be able to show me the sales that I've been able to do. And also if that particular sale I synced it to eTeams, it also has that particular status. And also the sales that I've not synced to eTeams, it will also be able to show you the status of those invoices that are not synced and the ones which are synced to eTeams. And also the person who sold that particular invoice, and also if it was either paid or not paid. So I can just make one receipt or an invoice, which is so that I can show you the moment you integrate with eTeams, how the invoices will be captured. So I'll just select one of the maybe this transport service and add. Then I'll be able to select a customer. So you'll also be able to synchronize the customer's PIN in the system. So I just select that particular customer, and then I can either prompt or pay later, or I just select pay now. Then select maybe the customer has made a payment using the cash. So when I generate that invoice, it will automatically synchronize to eTeams, and it will be able to generate me a receipt that has also the eTeams verification code, whereby the buyer can be able to scan and verify this particular invoice. So there is this thermal print invoice, and also there is the A4 invoice. I can just generate one A4 invoice. So this will be the A4 one. It will also be able to have those details of that particular receipt at the bottom, whereby it has all the date, the SKU ID, SKU invoice signature, and also the internal data codes, and also the QR code that you can be able to scan. So that's how you can be able to generate the invoices, and they will automatically be synchronized to eTeams. If you want to make a sale that or you don't want it to go to the eTeams, you just come here at the top where my cursor is at, and then you can be able to turn that synchronizing to items off, and then you can be able to do a cell that doesn't go to items. So basically that's how you can be able to maneuver. So I'll just generate one that I don't want it to go to items, then select the customer. So I turn the synchronizing off, and then generate the invoice. Just select pay now. Payment method, I can select cash and complete. So this one will have now the QR code because I have not synchronized it to go to the items. So basically that's how you maneuver through. And also you can be able to make quotations, credit notes, and also if it's a items invoice that you have generated and you want to issue a credit note, you can only, the moment you issue a credit note, it will automatically also issue a credit note on the items end. So let's say this one did a refund, maybe it was this particular service. So I can create a credit note. The credit note will synchronize immediately to the items portal. Then when I go to purchases, you can be able to record all the purchases of your suppliers on the system. You can be always be able to update the purchases. You can always, and also you can always be able to pull items purchases. Just click on items, and then you can be able to link item from a particular supplier into the system, and now they will be able to capture in your inventory. So you don't have to input that, just click the items purchases and link that particular purchase to your account, and they'll be able to pull that data. Then when I go to expenses, on the expenses, you can be able to create different expenses you incur in the business, so that when adding an expense, you just click an expense category, and then you can always be able to add an expense. You can select a particular category, maybe salaries, if it has a tax, that particular expense, payment method you used, and also you can always be able to upload a support document. So this will be the outlook of those particular expenses. Then the customers, you also have a database of your customers in the system, either a business or an individual. And again, if they are customers, you sell items invoices, you can always be able to synchronize them, so that when generating the invoices, you can always be able to capture. Then on the accounting module, you can be able to generate all the accounting reports from cash flow, balance sheet, trade balance, general ledger, assets, and also the journal entries. So you can be able to generate all the accounting reports from the system at an instant. So itakuwa kazi rahisi to manage your financial reports using the system. And also the normal reports are from the inventory, profit, commission, that is if you pay your salespeople on commission terms, and also customer report, creditors report, and also the aging receivables of different customers, and also the creditors report, the money your suppliers owe you, and also the sales report. You can always be able to generate those particular reports from the system. Then on the user management is whereby you can be able to add your different users into the system, so that again you can be able to limit on what they can be able to view or do on the system. So you can always be able to limit maybe just do one role, maybe a salesperson. So on the next page, you can be able to limit on what features you want them to have an access on. The ones they don't have an access on is they will be told to contact the admin for those particular permissions. Then on the branches, you can be able to add multiple branches that you are running. So you can always add them on the system. And also you can go to customize how your receipts, quotation, and invoices look like. Then the other part is on the items. You can always click on items sales summary. So you can be able to generate a sales summary of the sales that you have been able to do through items, which will be able to show you that particular report, the sales that you have been able to do, which are 18, and also the total amount you invoiced via items. And also we have the accurate pay, which is our wallet, which is basically used to manage petty cash and money within the business, whereby you can be able to load money into the petty cash. And then you can be able to do transaction payment to till for different expenses, or sending to particular people, maybe for casual payments. So you can be able to use the petty cash to manage the business petty cash money. And also we are rolling out payroll, which you can be able to use it to manage the workforce and also for the HR purposes. So it's we'll be rolling it out from Monday, the payroll. So it is also an added feature that will be able to accompany these Accurate Books accounting software. So we'll be able to have the business management and also the HR management and also the petty cash management using my Accurate Books. Then when I go to the different packages that we run the system on, so we have two packages. We have the standard package and the gold package. Because my account is onboarded on the eTeams, currently it can only be able to show the package I am in, which is the gold package, which goes for 9,000 per year. It has all the standard features. So what is limited from the standard package, which goes for 5,500, will be limited on the accounting report, which are only available on the gold package. Also, eTeams integration is only available on the gold package. And also the number of branches, and also on the gold package is only where you can be able to run a multi-business management. So those are some of the key differences between the packages. So on a yearly package, it's 9,000. And what we usually do, we usually offer virtual trainings so that when you want to onboard, we take you through the system, guide you on how to navigate through the system, so that you are versed well to manage the business and where to input different entries into the system. So we usually offer those virtual training, which are usually free. So you can always reach us on 0116 333 000. So I'll check a few questions from you. So let me just go to the chat box and get a few questions so that I can take you. I don't spend how much time on you. Isaac, can you print using Bluetooth POS? Yes, you can be able to print using Bluetooth POS or the normal printer. Violet, so the number, I will share the contact there. You can drop us a message. You can drop us a chat on our WhatsApp. So my co-host, you can input our number there, which is 0116 333 000. 0116 333 000. You can reach us out, and then we can be able to take you through the virtual training. Can it be used? How do you manage in case of internet issues? So the system, you can be able to use it on a mobile phone and also on the computer. So in case there is an internet issue, you can always log into your mobile phone, and then you can always be able to do all the transaction via the mobile phone. Are you able to share your screen so you can see what you're talking about? I think I'm sharing my screen. Are you able to see my screen? If you are able to see my screen, you can say a thumbs up. How much for the acquisition of the system? So the system goes for 9,000 yearly package. So I think, can you, so Violent, I think the other people can be able to see my screen. So you can check on that. So the acquisition is 9,000 per year. So Kibet, I'm from Trans Nzoia. It's nice system. Can you use using it? Yes, you can use the system when you are not using the eTeams. So Kimuge, you can give us a call on 0116 333 000, and then I can just take you through the system and how to navigate through. So if you have any other question, yes, Doris, can it be used for an hospital setup? Yes, we can be able to use it for an hospital setup. And also we are working to have a customization whereby you can be able to customize a system that fits your business only. Share the taxation masterclass post. So the taxation masterclass post will be shared in a moment. So those are our contacts. You can reach us on 0116 333 000 or 0713247752. or you can always visit our office in Westland, that's on Westland Road, Gate 83. That is where we are based, so that we can always be able to take you through the system. And also there is the link to the website, so you can always create an account, and then you can always be able to reach us out so that I can take you through the system. Kimunge, the number is 0116 333 000. You can always chat us on WhatsApp, and you can also give us a call. Yes, Judith, yes, you can be able to generate an ETIMS invoice. And if you don't want to generate an ETIMS invoice, you just turn that particular feature off, and then you can be able to generate a normal invoice without ETIMS. So if you don't sell, you don't synchronize to the ETIMS, that sale won't appear on the ETIMS portal. But if you sell all the invoices through the ETIMS, they'll be able to appear on your ETIMS portal. Yes, the payroll will be different from my accurate books. That will be a different package. It will be separate. So Wendy, so about the payroll, that will be separate from my accurate book or the accurate wallet. So about your confidentiality of your data, it will be separate. So when we roll it out, reach out to us, and then we'll be able to take you through it. So if you have a particular question or a particular inquiry, don't hesitate to reach us on 0116 333 000, or come to our RWK offices at Westlands, Gate 83 on Westland Road. We are always on Monday to Friday, but virtually we are always on Monday to 24 hours. We're always on 24 hours of the day for the virtual. In case you have maybe an issue on the system, we are always there for support. So I guess we have taken a lot of time today. We are sorry for that, but the information today was a bit much. So we can continue interacting on our social medias. And so Judith, you're asking about the notes. The notes will be shared through, if you have filled the form, the notes will be shared in a moment after the meeting. Yes, Daniel, you're asking about, does it give quotation? Yes, the system offers quotations. Is it suitable for touring companies? Yes, it is suitable for touring companies. We have quite a number of clientele that are in touring companies. Some are in Mombasa, some are in Nairobi, and also Naivasha. We have quite a number of clients who are based there, who do tours and travel. So just reach us out, and then we can be able to take you through. Resend the form. So my co-host, you can share the form, Judith, so that she can be able to fill in the form, so that she can be able to get on the notes. Bernard, you have asked about does it support SACCOs, and is it SASTRA compliant? So the system is not made for SACCOs, it's made to manage businesses. So on the SACCO part, it is not viable. You cannot be able to use it for a SACCO. But for managing the businesses, you can be able to use it to manage businesses, either service or product business. So you can, in case you have any other question, you can always reach us on 0116 333 000, and we will be able to get back and answer your queries. Thank you for your time, and appreciate for the time you have given RWK, and also for the conversation. Have a good weekend. Hello, James. James, I can see you are raising your hand. You can chat. You can type your question in the chat box, and then I can be able to take it.